what's up, you guys? This is Rob from... No, it's all going to shit. Hey, what's up, you guys? This is... Okay, let's begin. Hey, what's up, you guys? This is Rob from A Gay Guy Plays, and today on The Daily Grind, we will be continuing our revisiting series as we take a look at Volt Prime. Well, just Volt in general, to be honest with you. Now, I found this really interesting because someone had actually left a comment on the previous video. They were saying, oh, why didn't you talk about Volt? You know, you always used to call him a witch, then you put him on your top 5 for favorite frames. Well, not top 5, but he was like in the honorable mentions. He was, right? He was? I'm pretty sure he was. But yeah. And somebody else in stream had mentioned before that I've never shown off a capacitance build, so this is actually the current build that I am using with him right now. This is kind of, I'm gonna be honest with you, this was just kind of like some shit that I threw together, and it works, so I'm not necessarily hating on it, and, you know, I'm not a Volt main. I'm not a Volt main, but I don't hate Volt. Now, there's something that I do need to clarify for you guys. A lot of the times I've heard people say, well, clearly he hates Volt because he calls him a witch. No. And let's get to the core. Let's get to the core of why I used to call him, well, I still call him a witch. But before that, let's figure out what the fuck this Kuva fortress is and figure out where we're gonna go. Ooh, mobile defense. That's actually kind of perfect. Let's go ahead and take that. I really like Volt for mission. Well, you know what? That's the cool thing about Volt. He can be either or. He's flexitile. The word I was gonna go was flexible, and then I was gonna make a joke about being versatile in the gay world, but you know what? Flexitile is an even better joke, so let's stick with that. Now, oh, everything just got shitty for a hot second. What is happening here? I don't know what I walked into. Oh, we're straight into the Kuva. We're straight into the Kuva. Now, the big reason actually previous to this that I had referred to, where is this coming from? Where are you at? Where are you at? You see, this is nice. It's some nice control. Where is this? Hello? 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 Is this like the longest? There. I mean, it did something. But there it is. That was like the longest Kuva motion ever. But hey, look, I'm still doing my job. Everything's still controlled and whatnot. What is on his face? Anyway, so the big reason that oh my god, why am I using a Volto? What is this build? I really should have paid a little bit more attention to everything, apparently, because we let that one slip as well. But god, this is just a whole bunch of rambling. I'm so sorry, you guys. But the main reason that I used to call Volt a witch was actually because of speed. So that was the initial witch call, to be honest with you. Was because it literally felt, because Volt really used to fucking feel like a curse whenever he would use his speed, because there's so many times that he would pop speed, and previous to this, Volt's speed would actually change the FOV, you know, like more than it does now, because that changes it just a little bit. Oh, the FOV on it used to be far more dramatic, and here's the thing, it used to do it for the entire group, and there were so many times where it did it for the entire group, and guess what would happen? Oh yeah, it would bug out, and you would be stuck in that FOV all fucking day long. Well, all mission long. And at that point in time, you know, we'd be running extended missions, and I'd be like, oh my god, I fucking hate this goddamn Volt cursing me. So I would call him a witch, because literally it felt like being under a witch's curse. Then, in addition to that, if you look at his animations, oh my god, his animations are all jiggly and like, ooh, I'm casting a spell on you. We'll take a look at his animations after this, just to drive my curse point home. So beyond that, you know, that was kind of the case with Volt. And then, even after they fixed speed, you know, they're like, oh, you can backflip. I can't say backflip. No, it's the curse of Volt. You can backflip out of speed. And I was like, no, you fucking can't. And everybody on stream, everybody was like, oh, yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. You can backflip out of speed. So literally I would do it on stream and it would never ever happen until, you know, recently where they actually managed to fix it, and I was like, Jesus, Volt's speed curse is pervasive no matter what. It defies all. Volt speed defies all. And that was kind of like the running joke for me, is like he was this disgusting witch, and whenever he would do this, tell me this does not look witchy, okay? Let's look at this animation. Oh, I guess the animation spins with you. But no, actually, wait, hold on. There is a trick to doing this, and you guys will see a little bit of insight on how I actually do some of my screenshots. Let's do it right now. Please don't get shot. Please, just don't get shot. Okay, don't get shot. So what we actually do to get some of the cool screenshots is you have to wait for him to be in an animation. So I'm just gonna wait for him to go and do that animation, and then you actually get that. And I think that looks witchy as fuck. I don't know about the rest of you, it looks witchy to me. So that was kind of like the running joke that Volt is a witch, and you know, everybody would be like, oh, you know, male witches or warlocks. I'm like, no, he's now, just because of that, he is definitely a witch. He is a witch forever now, because you have doomed him to be so. But yeah, so that's kind of like the story of why Volt is a witch. It's not actually anything weird or bad. I never actually ever said, ooh, and then the other thing was, the fucking, his shield, the number one, okay, so I actually wanted to make a video of this, of fucking quotes that Warframe commenters would say over and over again and would annoy the shit out of me. Previous to, have you tried this with Mirage? Previous to that, it used to be, have you tried this through Volt's electric shield? Because Volt's electric shield has a bunch of different, actually has a bunch of different interactions with different types of weapons. I haven't checked on it recently, but I know that it used to make certain weapons that were projectile based, you know, as fast as hit scan, if not actually hit scan. I don't know the actual mechanic behind that, because I'm not sure if that's actually what it did. It has its own like critical booster. It makes certain beam weapons travel further. So I was like, he's just, everything he does is witchy. And to be honest with you, it wasn't necessarily a kind of like dig at him or anything, because I thought it was cool. It's just like a bunch of these mechanics that don't exist anywhere else. He's like this weird, cursed witch man. And that's kind of how he felt. What was that? It's the curse of Volt. See, it's doing it to everything. So that was my experience with Volt previously. Now, before the rework, not only was he like damage based, which already was not a great thing, to be honest with you. He was also terrain based. I know that sounds really, really weird, but he was only really effective when he was in terrain with a lot of electrical items. And even after that, even after being in that area with all the electrical items, you could only use your ultimate once and gain the benefits off of it once. So his ultimate was very, very, very limiting. And after the, oh, I'm sorry, ugly. No, you're ugly, you'll be okay. We need to defend it now. I will stay here and defend it. What ended up happening with his rework is he did something very, very interesting. And I thought this was actually pretty cool, which is what I call the Endgame switch. It's the same thing that happens to Nova. Nova's like the best depiction of this. I guess I'll put that out there. Because what actually, I do not use him enough to know the fucking keybinds correctly. What actually ends up happening with him is the role of his ultimate changes in later game. In early game and even in mid game, depending on how you mod him, he can output a lot of damage, especially with tightly clustered groups. Like, he's fucking a powerhouse with that. But in late game, you know, damage numbers don't necessarily scale unless, you know, you're a special flower or a special infested flower. But what was actually really cool with Volt is now he did what Nova did. Just like Molecular Prime used to do. Molecular Prime, I don't know if I need to like patronize you and explain to you guys. You guys don't know with Molecular Prime, this is how it works. You guys know how Molecular Prime works. It slows enemies and it makes them explode. And it also makes them take, you know, double damage. So that's it at its like base core. But for Volt, No, but for Nova, sorry, I keep getting switched around. But what ends up happening with Nova for later on in the game, it becomes less about the damage of the explosion, because in mid-game and early game, you can literally do a molecular prime and wipe out entire rooms. And it was even worse before her rework. But yeah, so what ends up happening is she makes the endgame switch from being a room clearing damage dealer into an amazing frame that can slow enemies and, you know, debuff them and make them take double the damage. So that's kind of her, what I quote-unquote call the endgame switch, because her role switches from damage to crowd control and debuffing, and that makes her extremely powerful. Volt, on the other hand, when he got his abilities, the really cool thing about them is what ended up happening is he actually had some really amazing abilities straight out of the gate, like shield, electric shield is fucking fantastic and beautiful and wonderful. Did I forget to remember her cat? I did forget to remember her cat. Is beautiful, magical, and wonderful because of the fact that it's a duration-based damage blocking ability. So that was already an amazingly scalable ability, and now on top of that, he got Discharge, which turned from a mainly damage-dealing ability into a really awesome CC ability, a CC ability that you can use with Capacitance to build up your shield. Now, I'm not going to say Capacitance is an amazing, you know, there's going to be people who min-max Volt a lot better than I do. I will always admit where I am weak, and I'm not necessarily the best Volt builder ever. I haven't played around with him enough to, you know, say this is the best variation of this, unlike like Loki stuff where I'm like, ah, I know that shit like that. But with Volt specifically, I love the fact that Capacitance goes out and it, you know, it deals damage. It goes out and it deals damage, but also replenishes you as it deals damage. So if you're taking occasional hits, like maybe from something that you haven't CC'd or something that hasn't come by, the Capacitance, as your discharge is running, it will continuously fuel your shielding. So it's kind of like regeneration, but for shielding. Now, as we know, shielding isn't the most powerful thing on the block, but take help where you could get it. You're CCing things, and on top of that, let's do a capture, because we did a slow one, a mobile defense, which I would consider a little bit slower in pace, to something a little bit faster. So what was this? This was a capture. So quickly I forget. But yeah, so that kind of became his endgame switch. He became really good at blocking damage and also CC, and that really makes him excellent. And then on top of that, you know, he's got his fun abilities. They reduced, from the original, they reduced the FOV. Oh my god. I'm gonna find a video on the internets, and it's gonna be a really old Volt review, and I'll show you the difference in FOV from then until now. I'll use speed a little bit more in this one so that you guys can see it, but it was bad back then. And picture going into the group as like an innocent little like Loki or, you know, Vauban or something, and then all of a sudden that thing getting bugged, and you fucking sitting there the whole goddamn time, like saying, I fucking hate this. This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. This FOV is terrible. But yeah, so that's the cool thing, because I think that Volt is awesome because he has a balance of, you know, he has some viability. He doesn't have the, like, let's be real. He doesn't have, like, the most viability of every single Warframe ever, but he's flexible. He can do a lot of different things. He can perform a good amount of roles if you're not gonna take him, I'll take him. He can perform a lot of different roles depending on what the mission calls for. Are these extremely weak? Please tell me that I went to the Kuva farm, right? I did go to the Kuva farm, right? Right? I'm slightly worried. I'm fighting level 22 Drax. Maybe. Oh, good. Phew. 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 More fixed stabilizer. I don't care about that. Where are you? Mark it so I can find you. If you're on one of these Kuva missions, what would be lovely is if you, oh, is that another Volt? All right. Let's take a quick look. Where are we going? We need to find this Kuva. Sorry, my brain is now just here. You can't just say here. Mark it. Mark it. You need to mark it. You can't just say here and expect us to know what that means. Well, Alright, so anyway, so this, as you can see, is kind of like the FOV to Volt speed, which isn't terrible. It's not terrible at all. And he's good. He's really good, you know, at clearing like low level stuff. Maybe not high tier, not the highest tier stuff, because electricity isn't the greatest element. It's not a bad element. It's just not, you know, what people tend to go for when they're min-maxing shit. What the fuck is it? Oh, well, that person right there is clearly... Did you see that? That was kind of cool. You could see them out of their operator suit. There you go. See, he popped out of his operator suit. Look at the map. The fuck? It's a lie! It's a lie! Where are we going? Oh, I mean, I'm stuck. And this is why I hate speed. This is why I'm not a fan of using speed very much, because of the fact that I'm the kind of person that tends to get stuck on terrain. But yeah, so I think that's the big... those were all the reasons why Volt was a witch. And we kind of see like how he switches to Endgame with his ability to kind of control enemies and lay down literally just damage negating shields. Like, I mean, think about that. He just literally basically puts up a shield and says, yeah, no, you're not gonna touch me. Now clearly, you know, it's got a duration, but you could just sit here and anything that comes through, you can pretty much whack. Right? You can just whack it. This can be like my little place of safety. My safe space, unless one of these... Oh, where'd they go? They must have died. He just fell over. Into my own little safe space. So I think that he makes a really fantastic endgame switch now. Good job. Oh, I got worried for a second. But... And that's kind of like the main thing that I like about him, is because he does have his fun abilities. Like, speed is fun, much funner now than it used to be. I know funner isn't a word, but, you know, calm your tits. And shock is a really good, like, is a very good, what's the word I want to say? Reactionary ability. You know, when you don't have time to cast, when you don't have the full time to cast, discharge, you can just kind of be like, oh, shit, I saw you. Aw, fuck, why, oh, stop it. And then you can kind of stop enemies for a second while you are able to recast your discharge. Because discharge does have that animation lock on it, which does leave you susceptible before it spreads. But that aside, I don't know. I'm super fond of him now. I still wouldn't put him, you know, insanely high on my own, like, personal secret tier list, because I don't want to insult people. Let's be real. If you say anything bad about a Warframe, some people are always going to be trying to come for you. But yeah, so that's kind of like my thing with him, and that's the same thing like that you see with frames like Nova. You actually see it with Rhino. I was actually having a discussion with somebody. I remember back in the days when we were talking about it, and there's variants on the build now. There's actually different variants on, like, using Ironclad Charge to get insane amounts of armor to reinforce his Rhino shield. Or his iron, oh my god, what did I just call it? A Rhino shield? Iron shield? Iron skin? Oh no! Yeah, there are variants to do that and kind of like build up his tankiness. His tankiness towards endgame, but really, like, where a lot of, at least where I found a lot of success using him, was his stomp builds. So he again transitions from I wouldn't say a damage frame. I mean, I guess you can consider Stomp to be a damage, but, you know, to kind of like further his CC ability and his ability to kind of buff up the group with his oh my god, roar. I was gonna call it Rhino Roar. Can we just call it Rhino everything? Because I think that's a little bit fonder. But yeah, I think that kind of explains all of my feelings about Volt pretty much. From who he used to be to who he is now, why I'm fond of him now, the kind of shift that he makes towards endgame stuff. Don't ask me why I have the Akbalto, I really don't know. But that pretty much sums it up. Let me know what other frames you guys want me to revisit. If you guys want me to talk about the endgame switch a little bit more, or maybe some endgame switchy builds or something, I don't know what I'm doing. I'll actually have a channel update for you guys coming very soon, because as you can see, there's definitely been a change to the kind of content that's on the channel. I don't necessarily want to get rid of the old types of content. Sorry. I don't want to get rid of the old style of content. but at the same time, in order to keep the channel running, the daily series performs very well to help keep the channel running and to kind of fit in all of the YouTube algorithms, but we'll talk more about that later. Let me know what you guys think about Volts. Do you guys like him? Have you guys explored his endgame switchability? What other frames? Here's a big question for you guys, because for me, like the outstanding ones are definitely Volts, Volts, Nova, Rhino, maybe even to a degree, what is his name? Oh my god, my brain is gone. My brain just oh, Ember? Not okay. We need to clarify. Like, I don't mean like Endgame, like especially necessarily Ember, but Ember does have a good amount of CC. She's got a stun that amplifies fire damage. A lot of people run corrosive fire on their builds. She also has Firequake, which knocks down enemies. Now, I'm not saying that she is like, you know, endgame viable, but she's been turned, like, her ability changes. Her ability with Firequake, I have to put that out there, Firequake has to be in that build, mainly because of the fact that acts as CC. So that's a little bit of an endgame switch, like an endgame shift. An endgame shift, not a full-on switch. But before I get myself into any more trouble with verbiage, I'm gonna let you guys go. Let me know what other frames, endgame switchability, how you guys feel about Volt now after the rework, and that's about it. So as always, love somebody, hurt nobody, and touch your body. We'll talk a little bit later. I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.